A new lawsuit is challenging New York's pistol permit law, which is about a century old, and the plaintiffs are hoping that this action could lead to a bigger discussion of some of the state's gun control laws writ large. They argue the law puts too much of a burden on would-be gun owners and is not enforced equally in all counties and therefore is unfair. Joining me from Buffalo now to talk more about the case is attorney James Ostrowski. It's good to see you, sir. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for joining us.
Always great to be on, Liz. Thanks.
So this is fascinating, and I should also say that it's the Erie County Libertarians who are bringing this up, and so therefore not terribly surprising. But it's a gentleman specifically from South Dakota got this ball rolling. Is that right?
Yes. Ed Garrett, he moved into the state and had trouble transferring his license, so that got him involved. And then there's several other plaintiffs who have had a long-standing interest in this issue and have agreed to sign on and file the lawsuit.
So this argument is what exactly? I mean, this law dates back to 1911, and generally speaking, it's been upheld. I mean, certainly the state courts have given various different officials and judges, et cetera, the power to determine who gets pistol permits and who does not.
Well, this all arises out of the Heller Supreme Court case, which for the first time clarified that the right to bear arms is an individual right.
Right.
Some of us had been urging that view for years. Others said, no, it's not. It has something to do with the militia. They cleared that up. So at that point, I started looking at the New York pistol permit law, and it clearly did not pass muster under Heller, which does allow some restrictions, but not the open-ended sort of arbitrary system of New York. And then the other key case was the McDonald case out of Chicago, which held, as I predicted it would, that the Second Amendment does apply to the states. So then we started, various groups talked to me about filing a suit. One group kind of dropped out because another suit had been filed, and then more recently, with the interest in the SAFE Act, I took a look at how that case ended. That was the Kelkowski case, which the Second Circuit decided. Now, they did uphold the New York law post-Heller, post-McDonald on the carrier permit issue.
Right.
We're continuing to litigate that. We hope to change the circuit's mind on that, and/or the Supreme Court's, which has never ruled on these issues. But we've raised a lot of other issues that were not in Kelkowski.
Okay.
So there's a misapprehension that this has been decided. Almost only one of the issues has reached the Second Circuit, and we're not even giving up on that issue, frankly.
So, Jim, okay, so there's a lot going on here. I mean, there's sort of the macro and the micro. The micro is the suit, the specific suit that you and I are discussing at this moment, and then the macro is the gun control laws, the SAFE Act, whether the state has the power to micromanage gun ownership, et cetera. So let's first put to bed the micro, if you don't mind. I mean, basically what gun control advocates have said is the reason that we have pistol permit law in this state, and the reason why it's so onerous and you just can't walk in and get a permit so easily is because we want to weed out any difficulties, people who shouldn't have them, and to keep the public at large safe. Do you disagree with that sentiment?
Yes, I do, because what's happened is that law-abiding people, and I'll use myself as an example, I've looked at the pistol permit application and I said, I'm not filling that thing out. What a pain in the neck. I've got to go to I got to go to references, and I've got to confess anything I might have done in my whole life that some pistol licensing agency might consider important. So it keeps handguns out of the hands of law-abiding people, and who are then preyed upon by the criminal class, who of course do not care about violating weapons laws when they're willing to commit a burglary or felony.
Jim, just to interrupt you and to clarify, I mean, you're speaking sort of theoretically, right? You didn't go and look at this permit application and say, I don't want to do this, and so you're not in possession of an illegal gun, just to be clear.
No, just to clarify, I have looked at the permit. I'm not just using myself as a hypothetical, and I've decided that it's too much of a burden for me to have a handgun. So in these circumstance in which some criminal victimizes me, I'll be unarmed in the sense that I don't have a handgun. I may or may not have other guns, but handguns can be useful in circumstances where long guns may not be
Right.
readily available or useful. So no, I believe the premise is wrong that these laws deter crime. I think they encourage crime. Not every state has these onerous regulations, and some states that have licensing, you can get a license very quickly. So we don't concede the policy argument, but of course this is a legal argument in court.
So, okay, let's move on then to the macro. I mean, the macro, and certainly we've discussed on this show numerous times, is that folks who are Second Amendment advocates say, like yourself, say that the SAFE Act is problematic. As you noted, it's been challenged in court. It's been upheld, most of it thus far, not all of it. Some of it, you know, in
Right.
terms of the ammunition database is not a going concern and may not be, but we'll leave that political point aside for now. I mean, if in fact
Right.
this is really about the SAFE Act, why not continue focusing solely on that? I mean, are you seeking to undermine somehow the entire foundation of gun control laws in the state? I mean, the pistol permit is sort of like the foundation, if you will.
Yes, we are. You can't, look, you and I are exercising our First Amendment right now. We
We
didn't
are.
have to get a license. There's no reason to consider the Second Amendment to be a lesser right than the First Amendment. In fact, we argue in the complaint it's actually the most important right, because without that one, A, you might die very quickly, and B, you can't defend all the other rights. So the Second Amendment cannot take a second place to any of the other amendments. So yes, it is a fundamental challenge to the gun control regime, which we think is illegal and also, again, encourages crime by depriving law. You know, for generations in New York, criminals walking down the street, and by the way, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so I know what I'm talking about. I also live in a large city that has a high crime rate, Buffalo, and I have lived in New York City as well. We've disarmed the law-abiding people so that the criminals basically know that 99 people out of 100
Jim,
they want to mug on the street
I
are
don't-
unarmed. So no,
forgive
we
me.
don't believe that works.
Okay, forgive me, and we're going to run out of time here. Just one sort of ideological question, I guess, if it is. I mean, isn't that the reason we have law enforcement? I mean, that we're not, you know, the OK Corral and that everybody is out there responsible for their own public safety. I mean, we hire police officers to protect and serve. That's the purpose, and we arm them to keep ourselves safe.
Right. Well, and if there's a burglar coming in your window, you may be able to call the police, and they may come. In Buffalo, they might come in 5 to 8 minutes. In other places, it might be 45 minutes or 2 hours. So, you know, in that sense, the police become a crime historian. They come to draw a chalk line around your body. So, no, the founders understood that people have the right to life, and they have the right to the means to protect that life against criminals, and also, as we make the point in the complaint, against tyrannical government.
Okay,
History
so
shows all too well that governments can be tyrannical,
So the
and we need to be protected against them.
The tyrannical government, the suit in particular names Governor Cuomo, and you filed
Yes.
it, and it is before U.S. District Court Judge Frank Gerasi Jr., and we will keep
That's
an eye
correct.
on it and see where it goes. I thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Very good. Thank you very much.